Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a layout that continues our my visit with my husband to Oahu, and is just a little bit more from the Polynesian Cultural Center. This is some photos of the program that they do in the area that focuses on Hawaii. If you've been following this series, you understand that the Polynesian Cultural Center focuses on different islands in the Pacific and helps us learn more about their culture. This particular area was talking about Hawaii, and so they actually shared with us some traditional Hawaiian hula, which was really beautifully done, and we got some photos of them doing that. And then also we have a couple of photos of my husband talking to a gentleman who is part of their part of the music that is provided when they do the hula. He plays the ukulele, but they had a really nice conversation about many things, and then I also have a picture in there that I'll explain to you later what it is of, but it's of part of a garden that sits right near where they did this program. So at any rate, let's go ahead and check out what's in my workspace and we'll get started, okay? Okay, so here is my workspace, and this you'll recognize as the right-hand side of the layout that I did last time. And I am doing a voiceover again because for some reason my microphone didn't turn on, so please bear with me while I explain what she's doing. So we're going to follow the instructions from this blog post that happened earlier this year, and Krislyn Mattei created this cute sketch using the new Painted Garden, or what was then the new Painted Garden collection. Now we're all very familiar with it. If you're familiar with Creative Memories, it's got these beautiful colors. But I'm just going to follow the structure of this layout, and I'm using this in my for my next portion of my Oahu pages. You can see this is a single page sketch. I'm going to be turning this into a double page sketch, so it is going to look just a little bit different, but I think it turns out pretty well, so I hope you'll like it. Let's talk about some supplies. I've got this beautiful navy lined paper, which I think was from the Tropic Time collection, but I'm not really certain. I need to double check on that to be sure, but I'll make sure that in the description that it says accurately where this navy paper was from, so that if you want to find it, you can. And let's see, we're gonna move this so that you can see what's underneath. I used this design uses several different components other than just the navy blue paper. It also uses this really cute multicolored paper that comes from the Serene Waters collection and has all these beautiful colors and cubes on it. And so we're going to use a portion of that along the bottom of each layout. We're going to use 2 pages of the navy striped paper. We're going to use these 12-inch Schools of Fish stickers that are part of the Serene Waters collection. They're going to go on this layout and be perfect for what we need. I'm also using a selection of mats from Serene Waters with this layout, and some of them I have already cut, some of them I have not cut, so we're going to talk about that. But let me just walk you through this. So down here in the lower, or above that upper section, there is one piece of paper. We're going to use the navy paper for that, and it is set in off of the page, and then the multicolored cube paper will be that flowery paper at the bottom, and our sticker will go across there. Let me see. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the cubed paper, and this is going to be cut at 2.5 by 12. So I'm just going to go ahead and find 2.5 and cut that strip, and then cut another strip of 2.5 by 12 inch paper. This is just about 2.5 by 12, so I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the remnant of color from the last piece so that I don't have it on this piece. Just clean it up just a tiny bit, and then we'll be good to go with that. And then let's set these over here so that they're a little bit easier to distinguish from all these pieces that I have everywhere, because there's a lot of pieces to this layout. Okay, so now we're going to cut the navy, and as you're going to see, I am actually going to cut it wrong. So right now I'm trying to figure out the appropriate size, and since we have 2.5 inches in our colored cubes, that leaves us with 9.5 inches, but we need a border around it, so that leaves 9 inches. So that means that I need to cut this so that there's 9 inches. And initially I had wanted my stripes to go from left to right or be horizontal, but I put my paper in wrong in my excitement, and so they ended up being vertical stripes instead, which actually I think turned out fine. So depending on how you want your stripes, you need a 9 by 11.5 inch piece of paper. So I just went ahead and cut this at 9 by 11.5. And here I am realizing that I did it wrong. So bear with her, she's had a difficult day. All right, so now I'm just going to cut that 1/2 inch off, and then we'll go ahead and cut the second piece so that they're both the same. That piece goes up there because it's extra. We will possibly use it later, or possibly on a different layout. Okay, so I'm just going to lay this on there just to make sure that it is the size that I want, and it is. And so that's 9 inches by 11.5 for the top piece, and 2.5 by 12 for the bottom piece. And so now I'm going to go ahead and cut that other blue piece so that it's exactly the same. But again, all these little not moving pieces, but all these little pieces to this layout were just kind of all over. Because as you'll see, there are lots of little pieces that go together to form this particular layout. And the fact that we're doing 2 pages worth of it just means more pieces. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and assemble the bottom half of this layout. And so I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive all the way down the side, both sides, both of the long sides of this paper, and go ahead and adhere it to the base, right along the jeeping in the center and along the edge at the bottom. And I'm going to lift this up in a second and adjust it because for some reason it was a little bit off there on that left hand side. So I'm going to try it one more time and get it so that it's nice and straight. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and add adhesive to the larger piece, the navy piece, and go ahead and get that adhered. So I did stick a little bit of adhesive right in the middle of that large piece. I have found that there are some papers, and not that this one was necessarily going to do it, but sometimes if you have had to fold your paper in any way to punch it, it can be a little bit finicky and buckle in the center if it's a large enough piece. So I just like to add just a little bit of additional adhesive in there, not really to hold the paper in place, but to kind of just hold it down so it doesn't buckle. All right, now to sort through all the pieces again so that I can, or at least to lift them up so I can move them over and be able to do the base on the right hand side of the layout, because look at all those little pieces. We'll get to those in a minute, but for now we'll just get this page put together. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and adhere the stickers, the schools of fish stickers that I mentioned earlier, and those just go on right at the base so that that gap is just barely covered by your sticker. All the way across from jeeping to jeeping. And then we'll get this other one done. And almost there. There we go. Perfect. All right. Now we're going to need to sort through all of our pieces so that we can determine which piece is going to go on which side. And I'm not sure what she's talking about there, why her hands are flailing, but that's okay. We will figure this, sort through all of this so that we know which side, which pieces are going on which side, and get to working through assembling this one bit at a time. Because you notice there are many layers to that layout as you look at the sample layout there. There is a mat with the saying on it. There's that picture right there in the center that is also mounted and framed. There are photos in the upper left and the lower right hand corner of each of the pages. And then that pink that's offset in the center is, I believe that's a mat that was cut in half. I know that the lower left was a mat and the upper right is a mat that was cut in half. So that makes it fairly easy, but sizing wise, you do have to kind of work with what you have and what type of photos you're putting on your layout. All right, so you can see that this is a journal box and this is a journal box, and those at one point in time were part of the same note card, the same mat card that I cut apart in the middle to create two journal boxes, one for the right and one for the left. This photo is going to be matted using one of the cards from the mat pack, but we're going to cut it so that it will fit appropriately, and we're just going to go ahead and do that right now so that that's ready to go. So I'm just centering the picture on the 4x6 mat, or 4.5 by 6.5 mat, so that there is a frame around it, and then I'm going to trim it off so that it is nice and ready to adhere. And then let's see, what are the other pieces that need to go on this side of the layout? We've got a picture of our group, or of the group that was in front of us, watching the sweet lady that was teaching us about the hula, which was awesome. I've got another mat card that I used for that upper right area. As you can see, that the example has words on it. Mine has fish, but it coordinates with the other side, so that when the two layouts are put together, you see both sides of that mat, because they will be corresponding on either side of the layout, which is kind of cool. Then we've got this mat, which I did cut apart also. It's one of those beautiful ones with all the brush strokes that kind of blend into each other like a rainbowish. And so I just really, really liked it and wanted to try to integrate it into my layout. So we're going to use that today, and it's going to be right here, half on the top row and half on the second row. And we're just going to arrange these so that there's a nice even border around all of them as much as possible. Now it looks like that journal box on the side is going to need to be tucked underneath the sticker, but we'll get to that in a minute. And that upper picture of the garden, I couldn't do much about making it wider because it's a vertical photo. So I had to just sort of cut it into a square and go with that. But it'll look fine. We'll just have a little bit more of our blue under paper showing. So again, keep the borders about 1/4 of an inch from the blue, so you have 1/4 of an inch of blue paper as far away around it as possible. Of course, the irregular border with that fish sticker at the bottom makes it a little bit difficult, but it's not too bad. Just sort of ignore the irregular border at the bottom and make sure all the other sides are nicely done. So that space, as I was just pointing to, is just going to end up staying that way. And here I am again talking about the fact that this is a vertical picture, not a horizontal picture, so I couldn't do anything about trying to make it wider. It had to stay that width. There was no way to change that. But it'll be okay once that center photo is put on. So now we're going to get that journal box put on and tucked underneath the sticker. Sometimes stickers can be a little bit difficult to lift. If you're careful, you can get your all-purpose tool in there and lift them up. Tuck something that you forgot. Like I forgot. And then this piece, just sort of, you just place it evenly in between and you're good to go. Excuse me. All right, so this picture is going to go right here in the middle, and it'll be a little bit higher than right in the center because I want to make sure I'm not covering anybody's face or anything important that I want to be able to see later. So just going to go ahead and double check. Looks good. All right, so we're going to just make sure that that's all good to go. And then this picture up here is a picture where this garden is right in front of where they performed the hula and talked to us about the origin of the hula. And this garden, if you've ever heard of a taro root, the taro root is very important in Hawaiian culture. They make a lot of things from it. Let me see if I can help you see that picture a little bit better. I'm going to refocus it here in just a second so you can see a little bit better. But all those plants right there are taro roots that they're growing to make poi and other things out of. My sister-in-law makes taro rolls, which are very yummy. The taro root has kind of a consistency a little bit like a potato, so if you are familiar with potato rolls and things like that, you can use taro root in those, and they turn a delightful shade of lavender, and they're very tasty. So let's get started on this second page and sort out all of these pieces. We already know that this piece is going to go in that upper left hand corner so that it matches the piece on the left side of the layout. So we can go ahead and line this up so that we put that piece in at the same level so it makes sense from the left hand side to the right hand side. Alright, so that one's good to go. We're essentially going to mirror the left hand side of the page, and the photos, instead of going from the upper left hand corner to the lower right, the photos will go from the lower left hand corner to the upper right hand corner. And as you can see, I'm using another mat card here to base or to mount this photo on. This is going to be our center photo for the right hand side of the layout. It just shows all the whole band and the lovely lady doing her hula. And then I had to reprint these two photos because they turned out to be too small. I thought I had cut them at the appropriate size, but then when I laid these on here, when I was looking at how this layout was going to come together, I discovered that they really are too small. So fortunately I have a Canon selfie photo printer, and so I went ahead and just reprinted these two photos so that I could cut them a little bit differently. And so we're just going to kind of play with this and try to determine how much bigger they ought to be. And I don't think they need to be square. I think they need to be a little bit wider than square. I think, if memory serves, when I did this earlier today, it ended up being that these were 4 inches by 4 and 4 3/4, I want to say. I think. So we'll see how these end up. You just have to kind of determine based on the photos that you are using and put it together a little bit like a puzzle. So I knew I wanted that photo to go up there, and I knew that this half of this other mat was going to go next to it. Not that particular one, that's the one that goes down and gets tucked into the fish, but the one in my left hand is going to go, yep, right there. And so I used that to kind of get a good idea of where that photo needs to stop, so I know where I can trim it. And then what I did was I measured how much of the photo needed to be cut down. That way I could take some off of one side and some off of the other side and not cut through a person if I didn't have to. So that was kind of the thought process anyway. I trimmed it on the right hand side as much as I could, and then when I flipped it around to trim the other side, I was able to then measure the photo so that it's the appropriate length and trim it really quickly. So then it fits right into that spot, which was lovely. And then here we go, we need to do something similar with this piece or this photo. And this one I basically ended up cutting the person on the left playing the guitar completely out of the photo just because it made it easier. This spot was a little smaller than the spot on the top, and I'm sorry for the noise from upstairs. My kids are moving furniture around. It's scraping on the kitchen floor upstairs. At any rate, so I'm going to go ahead and trim this photo so that it will fit neatly into that spot, and then we can get all of these adhered. Alright, so we're going to just tuck this journal box underneath the sticker just like we did on the other side, and make sure that the borders of where it's sitting are even with the top photo, and the center photo all as well. So we get that all secured. Alright, so now this center photo is the only other picture that needs to be adhered. And we're just going to flip this over and get it placed right there in the middle where we're not blocking too much. At least not our hula person, because that's kind of the point of this whole layout. And get that put down. Awesome. Now we just need some embellishing, and so I'm just going to grab my embellishments. Now you can see on this is a one-page layout, and they've got 3 embellishments or clusters of embellishments on this one page. That doesn't mean that we need 6 clusters of embellishments on our 2 pages. That just means that for a one-page layout, that's how many she felt like she wanted to add. We're going to do 3 on our 2-page layout just to help our eyes track, and I'm going to work on those clusters so that we can find some good embellishments to put on here. Okay, so I found a few things from my embellishment box along with these stickers from the Boho Escape collection, which this one in particular matches the colors in this layout really, really well. So I'm going to use this sticker. I'm not going to use the rest of the excuse me, the rest of these, mostly because the colors are just all wrong. They don't really match well with the Serene waters. Even though I do love these and they are very tropical, they may show up in another layout somewhere down the line, but they're not going to be part of this one. I do have a couple of things to consider. I have some pieces of that same cute paper with the water on the back, which we might use in conjunction with a few other embellishments that came with this. So I'm just kind of trying to decide here. I think the water side is going to work best, and I love these sunrise pieces, so I think we're going to, or sunset, could be sunset. I think we're going to incorporate them with some of these other embellishments and use some foam squares to pop them up, of course, to add interest and a little bit more shadow and depth. So here's my foam squares, and we're not going to use, I don't think, this one. This one is the word relax, which came with the Serene Waters collection. And then it's just a portion of the whisper chain that I had created for another layout that I had put together, but I don't really like the way it works on this layout, so I decided ultimately not to use it. I thought maybe the red and the yellow would kind of work well, since my husband's shirt had a lot of red in it, but ultimately I just decided it was a no-go for this one. But these leaves look nice, and I did incorporate the leaves with some of the multicolored cube paper. On the back of that is really nice watercolor, like teal paper or bright blue. So I just decided that that would actually play really well together. See, I just flipped it over. So I just sort of created a cluster with those things. And added that in there. Really just love the colors of this whole layout. I just think they looked really, they turned out very well. I liked them. I hope you like them too. Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, be sure you do that. That will help me out a lot and eventually help me earn some money, so that would be great. And it won't be money that you have to pay or anything, because subscribing is for free. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be great. Anyway, here we go. I'm just looking for what other stickers we might use from this sheet. Saving a lot of these for other layouts that I know are coming, like the turtles, which are super cute. And let's see. I'm checking for other things, just to make sure I'm not overlooking something that would be just right for this layout. And actually, ultimately, what I look for are some birds to put up on that mat right there that I just pointed to, because the birds are going to help create some flow for our eyes with all those fish that are kind of flying together into that line that's talking about peace and beauty. And then the mat just next to that has those other bird outline shapes on it. Just thought the birds would be really cool, and it actually, I think it turns out really nicely. So Getting those tiny little foam squares though on those birds is a little tedious, so be careful if you try that. There's not a lot of room on the sticker to work with for that, even the tiny foam square, so you have to be very, very careful. But I do think it turned out well. I really liked it. Having those birds up there. It's amazing sometimes the tiniest things make a big, big difference. All right, so then we just have this one problem down here that I finally decide we're just not going to use that relax one. We'll save that for something else, and this is just going to kind of be similar to the other one. We're just going to flip it over until I like the colors and tuck it underneath that photo. All will be well. So we're going to grab some, I'm going to grab some foam squares here in just a second, after I look at it and think about it for a minute. Get all of that adhered. All right, love me some foam squares. Tropical state of mind. We definitely were in a tropical state of mind. Okay. Coming up on the big finish here, guys. We are almost done. Just gonna tuck this underneath this photo. Like I mentioned before, there it goes. Got our birds flying high in the sky. We got plenty of room to journal on both pages to tell the story. And one more foam square just for good measure to pop up this sunset. All right. We are done with this one for today. Let me know what you think in the comments. I always love to see your comments and hear your suggestions or ideas. So if you have any, please be sure you jot them down and send them to me. I try to reply to everyone who takes the time to comment, and I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much, and I hope that you have many more creative moments. You have a great day.